They would actually pull them out of a combat situation one day, and the next day, with 24 hours later,
They were on a bus
they were
sitting
on
next to a person.
right, and it just, they just didn't have the adjustment period. They didn't have the support, and so people like Jim and I, we chose to dedicate ourselves to this thing to try to see that what happened to the vets from our area of Vietnam and everything, that it never happened again, because somebody needed to do something to prevent that. And so we dedicated ourselves to working in the veterans area. Am I out front now and working with veterans? There is, I am well known in the area for what I do. There's a lot of people that would tell you that Jim and I are amongst the top as far as the leaders go in this area, as far as veterans causes go. And we do things that a lot of other people don't do. So to answer your question, do I, as far as looking at myself as a pillar in what I'm doing now, probably yes.
But not so much in the church, but here.
But here, right. Within the church,
You're still opposed.
I have stepped out more than I used to. I'm very open. I lead, I have stepped forward now to where I lead a lot of prayer groups, and I do some counseling and stuff, because I do, I have reached a point in my life to where I consider the spirituality part of it is, of course, being the most important, and I have put myself out now more into that than what I used to. So I have changed in that way.
There's been a lot of talk about having universal conscription, maybe 2-year national service. You can choose to serve in the schools, you can choose to serve in the armed forces, you could choose to serve overseas, like the Peace Corps, something like that. What are your thoughts about that kind of a thing?
I believe that this country needs to bring back some type of draft system. I don't think it should ever have been done away with, but I believe the way I look at it, the way I believe in it, I think that every individual in this country, be it male or female, man or woman, that when they come out of high school, that they need to have a mandatory at least 2-year military requirement. I really believe it basically ought to be basically something like a 2 and 4 program, that they must come out of high school before they do anything else. They go into the military, active duty military, for 2 years, and when they come out at the end of that 2 years active, that they have a 4-year reserve commitment. I think that is the only way to support the military in this country, and I think it's only fair that it apply to everybody, no exceptions, period.
Do you think we should pay them for that with free college education, maybe, or something to that effect?
Of course, when I was in the military and first went in the military, most of the things that are available from the kids coming out of the military today is they were not available then. And
like,
the college, the GI Bill right now, the GI Bill as it stands right now, when I
substantially less than Vietnam era veterans was,
well,
as well as substantially less than World War II was.
Right. We have just recently increased it, though, to where these now, for your military, if they coming out of the military, they can get, the GI Bill now can provide up as much as $50,000 as far as educational money goes for them to go to school. I think that
that'll send them to school for 1 year at a good school.
Right. But I think that we need to provide them something. I'm not sure exactly where that needs to fall. I think that requires a great deal of study. But I do believe that this country needs to have
Universal conscription.
universal conscription. It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to make it fair.
And what would it benefit us if that happened? Why? Somebody's got a 12-year-old. One of my viewers has a 12-year-old kid.
Right.
Why should they vote for that?
I think that if the people look at it, right now we have an all-volunteer military. That military has been, and of course through the years, through congressional action, the military has been severely reduced in size. We need to, and our military right now is beginning to be less than what it needs to be. Basically, it needs it, and plus, I think that if we, and I've got grandchildren too.
Why do we need such a big military? We're already spending 60% of the money that the world spends on military.
Right.
Why do we need a bigger one?
I'm not necessarily saying we need a bigger one, but I think that when you have an all-volunteer force, like right now with the volunteer force, the ones that do have to go into harm's way, a lot of them are saying, well, I didn't join the military to do this. I volunteered to join the military just so I could get the education money. Or I volunteered
That's why I went in.
Right. But I think that if we do it in such a way that everybody has to take part. Everybody has to pay something back to the country. And that's.
So do you think it would be just as beneficial if we allowed an option that's not necessarily military, but service oriented, so that they go into inner cities and mentor kids, or they go to third world countries and help them dig wells and whatever? Do you think that would be just as beneficial?
Absolutely, because there is a lot of areas in this world today that we could use that type of situation, that type of help. But everybody needs to have some type of service commitment.
So you don't think it's necessarily military as much as service with military as an aspect of it?
Right.
Okay.
But everybody needs to have some type of service commitment at coming out of high school. Not only that, I believe that even though when they come out of the high school, they are at an age where they can start making their own decisions and everything. I think that 2-year service commitment builds character. I think it makes for a stronger civilization. I think it makes for a stronger country because everybody has had that service commitment and it helps build character.
One of our viewers has never been of service to anyone or anything but themselves. I'm going to describe 2 such people to you.
Okay.
One of them, they're doing well financially, rocking and rolling. Maybe they got a family, maybe they're single, but they're doing, they smoke and vacations, they have lots of everything, okay? And they're busier than a one-armed paper hanger,
Right.
okay? They've got so much stuff going on in their life. The other one is someone who's struggling. They've never, maybe they didn't even finish high school, certainly no college, and it's a struggle to just get dinner on the table each day. Maybe they're serially unemployed. They have work sometimes not.
Right.
Okay, someone like that. Why would each one of those people want to be of service?
I think that if you have someone like that that's very successful but has never did any service at all,
Nothing but taking care of their own needs.
right? I think that somewhere along the line, regardless of how successful you are, or how wealthy you are, or you put the whole thing together, I think that if you have never been of service and you never do anything like that, I believe that somewhere along the way, later on in life or whatever, you reach a point to where you feel within yourself that you feel, well, maybe I didn't do some of the things that I should have done. Maybe I didn't help anybody. Maybe I didn't do service that help someone along the way. I think it's just in a situation like that sooner or later in life you run into reality, that you find out, regardless of how much wealth you have, regardless of how much success you have, unless you can look back and say, well, you know, I helped my fellow man, I helped my community, or I helped this person. I think if you wake up and you have a stark reality, that you find out that maybe even though you have had all this success, that in a way you have really failed. You failed yourself. Did they fail anybody else? Not necessarily, because somebody else may have taken care of that, but they failed themselves.
Now, what about the person who's struggling?
I think the person who's struggling, if you are like that, to where you are just out there grinding away every day just to try to make sense of life and to try to
Keep
make
it together.
try to make it from day to day. I think that by doing some kind of service, you actually help take some of that hurt, some of that pressure, some of that feeling of not being worth anything, or not being able to make things better, or help your family better, or make more money, or better support your family. I think that if you reach out and try to do some kind of service to help someone else, once again, I think it helps you in turn. I think it helps build esteem, and I think it makes you feel better about yourself.
Can you suggest a beginner's service project that either or both of those individuals might want to try as a way to just try it?
There are many organizations out there that are just begging for volunteers. Many of them. Some of them very minor. Some of them no more than to go to a youth center during the day and play basketball,
Referee a basketball game.
referee a basketball game, throw hoops with a kid. There's all kinds of minor projects out there like that. There is just hundreds and hundreds, and probably thousands of organizations around this country. They're in every community, begging for help, begging for volunteers. If nothing else, but to go to a center.
Feel free to name something if you
Right.
want.
Just help serve. Go to a youth center and help serve lunch for underprivileged children. And we do that every now and then. There's a place downtown where they bring the children at lunchtime and stuff, and we serve. All we do is we serve them lunch. We put the food on the plates, and then it's given to them. And there's all kinds of situations like that where you can begin to do just little things within your community that makes things better for everybody.
If you knew that you could not fail, if I were able to issue you an ironclad guarantee of success on your next service project or your next project of any kind,
Right.
what would you attempt?
If I had the chance and I could be guaranteed
Success.
that it would succeed, I have it in my heart that I would like to be able to go out and put together a group of people that could go out and come up with the money and everything, and start working to put